What's up, everybody? It's AT. I appreciate you joining me for this Aaron Torres Pod YouTube bonus segment in just one moment. Do want to do some quick reaction, fun Saturday afternoon game in college hoops as the University of Kentucky wins at the O-Dome. Thrilling game, big victory for Kentucky on the road. Oh, this was a big one. Before we get started, though, quick reminder, do me a favor, make sure to subscribe to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. New videos, new podcasts, everything going up pretty much 7 days a week. So make sure to subscribe. We're going to be ramping up the college hoops stuff here, the college hoops content over the coming days and weeks. Conference play is here, and it is time to dive in. Make sure to subscribe. Click that little button at the bottom of the screen. With that said, let's dive into what was a really fun, really entertaining, and I think a very important win for the University of Kentucky as they go to the O-Dome, as I just said, and beat the Florida Gators 87-85 victory for the Wildcats. And what stands out to me is a couple things. First of all, just to kind of like start this at the top, what maybe is most impressive is this was one of these games that kind of trending coming in, and certainly early, it felt like the kind of game that sometimes you just take the L in, right? Florida was a slight favorite in the DraftKings Sportsbook. It felt like, okay, the bettors and the professionals, they've liked Kentucky, but they're going on the road. First real big road test. I think I said on Friday's Aaron Torres pod, it was their first true road game. Obviously, they played at Louisville. I think it was mostly blue in the arena that night, but they're an underdog. They fall down early. It's just kind of a slow start. Florida banked in 2 big threes in the first half. They're down 8. And you sit there and say, maybe this is just where all of these freshmen learn how difficult and how challenging college basketball is, right? You're great. You're playing well. You beat Carolina a few weeks ago. You beat your biggest rival. You get a tune-up game before SEC play. Now you got to go on the road. Now you're playing an NCAA tournament caliber team in the Florida Gators. And maybe this is just the day where you take the L, you regroup, you come back, you get better, and you get ready for really the heart of league play, understanding that, hey, sometimes you go on the road and it's just not your day. Instead, this mentally tough Kentucky team does the exact opposite. Down by 8, as I said at the half, they immediately go on a 7-2 run in to start the second half, and you could tell right away, oh, baby, this game is on, and they are not backing down. I think the biggest thing for me as we talk about the victory, couple things stand out. One, the contributions from pretty much across the board, right? I mean, this is a program that over the last couple of years, I get it. It's been very Oscar Tshiebwe dependent. We've talked about it a ton on the show. You don't need me to kind of go through all that stuff. Why I bring it up, though, look at the win on Saturday and tell me a guy who played who didn't contribute to the win in a major way. I think you can argue that even though statistically it wasn't his best game, I thought DJ Wagner brought it, man. And we talked about it on Friday's show. I think a lot of people, or I think it was Thursday's mailbag show, but I think a lot of people have seen so much of DJ Wagner that we're now at the pick apart his game phase of his career. He's been in the spotlight since he was in 8th, 9th grade. His father's a former lottery pick. Oh my goodness. He's the number 1 player in America, and we get really high on him, and then we got to, it's like, no, the kid is still really good. He made some really difficult shots in this game, and really about the probably about the 12, 13 minute mark of the second half, all the way down till the final few minutes. He's making tough plays. He's making strong plays. He's finishing at the basket. He's doing exactly what you hope from him. Trey Mitchell, unbelievable game. Florida really probably, along with Carolina and Kansas, the biggest team that Kentucky has faced so far. And in this game, Trey Mitchell, who obviously cramped up late, obviously had some health issues late in the game, I thought he was phenomenal, just holding his own, doing what was needed to be done in this game, as Trey Mitchell obviously was phenomenal, finishing the game with essentially a double-double. Final stat line on him, I want to make sure I have this right, 12 and 10. So he did have an exact double-double in this game. Again, I thought it was a big effort from him because you really needed him in this game. Reed Sheppard did what Reed Sheppard does. He finished the game with a bunch of big plays. Now, he ironically had sort of a dumb foul at the end of the game that wasn't really a foul, but whatever. Hits a bunch of free throws late when you absolutely need them. Reed Sheppard is awesome as always. And I thought that Aaron Bradshaw three, how about that? A 7'1" kid stepping out, hitting the three in the moment when you need him. I'm like, oh my goodness, this team is unafraid. And what I will say is a couple things about this victory from the Kentucky perspective. Besides the fact that everybody contributed. Oh, by the way, I didn't even mention that Antonio Reeves had, leading scorer in this game, finished with 18 points. The other couple things that stand out are a few things. One, I think you could argue that Kentucky going on the road, getting a win against an NCAA tournament caliber team in Florida, they didn't even play their best game. First of all, down a guy, a Thiero, who I think was actually an important piece that they probably could have used today. He's not available. Rob Dillingham struggled the entire game, can't really get in a flow. We're still waiting for Justin Edwards to step up. And then a lot of really just uncharacteristic mistakes from Kentucky. A lot of turnovers early in the game, a lot of dumb fouls late. Although, as I said, that Reed Sheppard play at the end, that was not a foul. It was a clean block. But it doesn't matter because this team, and this is the thing more than anything that stands out to me about this Kentucky squad, they are so mentally tough. This group, I just feel like is so different than these last couple Kentucky teams that we've seen. I go back to the SEC opener last year. If you remember, I believe it was either their opener or it was certainly their first true road game in the SEC, but I believe it was the opener. They play at Missouri. And do you remember the game? They get punked on the road by Missouri. Okay, Missouri's a good team, whatever. But there was a play in that game, and I hate to pick out a kid specifically who's now in the NBA, but there's a loose ball, and Jacob Toppin goes to grab it, and some dude from Missouri, Gilliman was his name, just grabs it and rips it out of his arms and kind of stares down Jacob Toppin. Even though the kid was probably 6'1", 6'2", he wasn't afraid. And so what stood out to me about this game, what has stood out to me about this Kentucky team all year is the fearlessness with which they play. The fearlessness with which they play. The fact that going on the road, down a couple guys, not playing well, they're not afraid. And that's the crazy part because you go back to previous years for Kentucky. There were games where they would fall down and you just felt like they were going to lose. I mean, you go back to last year, you lose at Georgia, at Missouri, who I understand was a tournament team. There's a couple other weird losses mixed in there. I can't remember all of them. Now, they did win at Arkansas and at Tennessee, so that's worth mentioning. But at the same time, it was just one of those things where it felt like the confidence was so up and down. And if you're playing well, you're playing well. And if you're playing bad, everybody's feeling it. That's not this team. This team thrives, it feels like, in those big moments when people doubt them, when they fall down on the road, whatever, and they get the win. So just an incredible, incredible win for Kentucky. And I'll tell you, you look across, listen, I don't want to do the whole declarative, what does it all mean in the bigger picture? We got a long way till March. It is January 6th as I record here. But look across college basketball. We watch all these teams. I think there's some really good teams out there. Arizona's really good. UConn's really good. Purdue's really good. But look at this. This Kentucky team just went on the road to a Florida team, which is going to make the NCAA tournament, which basically had not lost a game at full strength. And they just outwilled and outwanted it late in the game. And so you start talking about where does this Kentucky team fit in the bigger picture of college basketball? Oh, I think they fit in good. Put them on a neutral against, a Marquette team that just lost again on Saturday, against Duke, against whoever. There aren't many teams that are bad matchups for them. So I know this is the kind of season that Kentucky fans have been waiting for. I think it's here. Listen, I'm not saying you're going undefeated from here on out. The SEC is tough. There's a lot of tough road venues, whatever. Tennessee's playing well. They're playing Ole Miss later. There's so many good teams in this league. You're going to have bumps. You're going to have peaks. You're going to have valleys. But this Kentucky team, it is so different than the last couple of years, and it's been really fun for them to watch. By the way, it reminds me of what I told you a few weeks ago after they beat Carolina. Everybody else in the college basketball media will say, oh, you can't win with freshmen in 2024. And what did I tell you in the preseason? I said Alabama was the number one team in college basketball all year last year. 3 of their top 6 scorers are freshmen. Duke won the ACC, 4 or 5 freshmen in their lineups. Duke makes a Final Four a few years ago with Paolo Banchero. If your freshmen are good enough, that's all that matters. And Kentucky's are. what a great road win against Florida. If you enjoyed this video, do me a quick favor. Make sure to subscribe to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. New episodes, new videos going up every single day. Make sure to subscribe here. And boy, oh boy, we're going to be ramping up college hoops here in the coming weeks.